Like to call the Town of Clinton Planning Board virtual meeting to order on Tuesday, September 15th at 7:30. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and pursuant to Executive Order number 202.1 issued on March 12th, 2020, suspending the open meetings law and emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings. The Town of Clinton Planning Board scheduled for September 18th, 2020 will be held electronically via Zoom instead of a public meeting open for the public to attend in person. Members of the public may view the board meeting as it is live streamed on YouTube. www.townofclinton.com/government/planning-board/planning-board videos/. Transcript of the meeting will be posted on the town's website at a later date. First item on the agenda is the Motoshimi area variance. Is the applicant here?
If that's me, yes.
Oh, okay. Welcome. This is a two-step process. The first is you're appearing before the planning board and we review your application and we give the zoning board of appeals a recommendation, either yay, nay, or neutral. And then you appear before the zoning board of appeals and they will make the final decision on your variance. So if you could briefly tell us what you're doing and then we'll discuss.
Okay, so what I would like to is to be able to finish my basement with either an accessory apartment or some other means of me being able to live down there, because as I get older, I'm not going to be able to walk up and down these stairs. I have lost my job, so until I'm actually doing the census right now and rushed home from Hopewell Junction to do this. I'm working for them, and that ends at the end of this month. But that's what I am trying to do, because after this, I have no job. One of the many lucky people who was an essential worker, been exposed to the virus twice, and then got fired from my job because I asked them to step up and protect us in some way, shape, or form. So now no longer have a job. So I'm looking to be able to first be able to hopefully use this as some kind of income so that that can offset the income I have lost. And then for a future, because I'm still young and still able to go out to work, to be able to live downstairs myself. Okay. Oh, there you are. Now I see who's talking to me.
Yes. Okay. Paul, you have this application?
Yeah, so I sent around the resolution, which I hope might function as sort of an outline of the issues as I see them. So this seemingly simple request comes with an unexpected number of complications, which I can run through. The reason it's here is the zoning administrator determined that the proposal really is for an accessory dwelling. And just as a reminder, this will be inside the principal dwelling. Normally, we've been getting these when they're in a separate building. So the rules, many of the rules are the same, but some of the rules are different when you're trying to do this inside the principal dwelling. And the zoning officer sent it for a variance because the first requirement that we might discuss is that if you're going to do this with an apartment inside the principal dwelling, you need to have the minimum acreage required in that particular zoning district for a principal dwelling. So in this case, as I read the zoning, it's 5 acres, and this is a 3.183 acre lot. So he flagged that as the acreage was insufficient to allow this. So that's an area variance for that particular issue. Now there are other issues that he didn't flag that I could run through really quickly, unless anybody has questions on the first one. The sort of related to the first issue is the requirement in 250-29 that says that you can't do this on an existing non-conforming lot of less than the prescribed lot area or lot width. So we've already talked about the lot area as being insufficient. As I read parcel access, I don't think we have a full survey, but the lot width is probably not the required 400 feet. So you have that issue thrown in with the insufficient acreage. And you also have what I couldn't tell from the drawing, maybe the applicant could help us, is the size of this proposed apartment. And this is going to, this we'll need to struggle again with the size restrictions on accessory dwellings, the 35% of the principal or 1,000 square feet, whichever is more restrictive.
Right.
So if this is bigger than 1,000 square feet,
It's not.
what would the square footage be?
The gentleman who's doing it said it would be approximately 650 square feet to 700 square feet.
Okay, so your house is about 1,500, right? Total floor space. So it's 35% of the habitable portion of the house. So that's smaller than 1,500 square feet. But let's just say it's 1,500 square feet just for the sake of argument. So that would limit you to about 500 square feet.
Okay. So if you notice that where okay, I'm trying to explain this. One of the smaller areas is a storage area, so that's not going to be a livable space. And the other area has the oil tank and the boiler in it, and that is also not part of the livable space. So I think he was including the whole square as that dimension of square footage.
Okay. Well, I think it would be helpful to clarify that before
Sure.
you go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, because you're going to be limited, as I read this, to, it can't be less than 400, but I think you're going to be limited. Well, they could give you a variance if you're within, if you're allowed 500, they could give you 600. They probably would be my guess.
Okay.
So that part of it's okay, but that is an issue that you would need to clarify with them, because I think, either you're in compliance or you're going to be a little bit out of compliance. So you would just, they would have to give you a variance for whatever extra square footage you might need.
Okay.
Assuming they give you the variances for the acreage and the lot width.
Right.
And so that gets us to the really big, the sort of the fundamental issue, if you will, which is, as I read the zoning, it's 250-29C2. You can't put a dwelling unit, an accessory dwelling unit, into a principal structure if the principal structure was built after the effective date of the zoning law. And I think, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is this the house was built in 1994? Does that sound right?
As far as I know, that's when it was built.
Okay. So it was, the way I've interpreted the effective date of this chapter, if you look at the definitions in this chapter, it refers to the local law number 3 of 1991 or amendments thereto. And I've interpreted this in the past as meaning that the effective date of this chapter is 1991. And I don't know how else we can interpret that, but maybe somebody else has a better idea. But if that's true, then this kind of thing is not permitted in a house that's built in 1994. So
Okay, great.
so that so that is a use issue that, again, the ZBA could, take the position that they want to allow a use variance for this, but that's a different, different issue. That's a sort of a more difficult standard to meet if you're trying to get a use variance than just square footage variance or something like that. But so those are the issues. Now, I did look at whether this could be considered a two-family dwelling under, as a sort of alternative way of getting around this. And
Okay.
you don't really gain that much. You gain a little, but then you lose something because it has the same restriction on, you're not supposed to do it in a house that's built after the effective date of the zoning. So you have that same restriction. You lose the size limitation, the square footage limitation. You do lose that, but then you have to deal with, they want you to have twice the minimum acreage. So you would have to have 10 acres.
Right, that
So
I know.
I don't know which one's better. I
Originally
would go
when
with the
I tried.
I would go with the square footage. I would go with the first option as accessory dwelling because I think you have a better chance.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? Of getting, if the limit is 600
Yes.
square feet and you're trying to get 650, I think you have a better shot of doing it that way. But I
Right.
want to give you advice, but that's sort of the way I was reading it.
okay,
So those are all the issues. I'm not, I just, it's, I think just the way I'm reading the zoning here, that there's sort of a policy. There seems to be a policy of discouraging this type of thing unless the building is an older building and, or unless there's, a certain amount of acreage and there's other things that the zoning law wants you to have. So,
okay.
so I throw that, I throw it open to the board for any, other thoughts or these are the variances that would be required, including the big one, the use variance, which would, is normally not something that's granted by the ZBA, but you don't know, something like this, they might go ahead and do it.
Right.
Is this basement finished at all, or is it just a basement?
It's
This
just
one.
a basement.
Okay.
I think if they agree, if they agree with the, that it's a use variance is required, you would have to, and I wrote this out and you'll get a copy, but there's certain standards that you have to, certain things you're supposed to show in order to get a use variance that you would want to be ready to present to them, in order to try
Okay,
to.
so you're gonna write that out for me?
Yeah, I typed it out and, all this board's going to do is give a recommendation, and then the ZBA is the one that's really going to, make the decision. And they may say, with some of this stuff, they may say, well, we don't agree. They may say we read it differently. You don't know what they're going to do. But this is the way I was, this is kind of the way I was looking at it.
Okay. All I can do is try. All I'm trying to do here is do the right thing, so.
Yeah, no, that's. I think,
And unfortunately, circumstances are circumstances, and I don't want to have to lose this house just because I can't afford to stay here.
Yeah, you know what? I let me say two things. One, this occurred to me before the meeting. I really appreciate that you are trying to do the right thing because some people would have just, you know what I mean? Some people would just.
Yeah, I do know.
I don't want to
Been
say
in this
it.
business, know a long time what people do and don't do. So,
Yeah.
I
And the
mean,
other thing
that is the whole thing.
the
And
other
all I
thing,
can do is the best that I can do, and I can only hope that you guys will work in my behalf and say, this is a single person. I have no other income, nobody else who's going to help me, and this was my only solution.
yeah, the other point I was going to make is I think, this is the zoning laws being reevaluated, and they may they may want to take a look at this, because there are going to be more and more people in a position where either they have parents or relatives, who need this kind of setup, or they need additional income. And I understand the policy of you do not want to increase the density of, these rural, these sort of country, rural neighborhoods too much by everybody having, multiple dwellings on a single piece of property. I completely get that.
Right.
But there, on the other hand, there may be a need to loosen this up a little bit to allow something like this in the appropriate case.
Right. What the funny part, and this is what I told Arlene, I said, what's really silly is that right next door to me, there's 150 acres that they cannot build on because it's part of a conservancy. And it's been part of my property for the 13 years I've been here. And I'm going, can't they just give me a couple of acres of land? Because
Right.
nobody can build on it. Nobody can do anything over there. And it's right there. So I said, that would definitely, pass along.
That would help with
that I
the,
have enough acreage.
that would help with some of this. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know if the board has any comments or whatever, but
Does anybody have anything to say, or are you leaning in any specific direction here? Justin?
I don't know that I have anything constructive to say. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the circumstances, and I want to try to find a way to help out the applicant. But at the same time, it's kind of a variance of every single part of the law, right? So it's hard to see how you make a positive recommendation when, none of the subsections are being met. But I don't like that result. I don't know. I'm torn.
I'm more, just personally, more in favor of a neutral, and let the zoning board figure this out, and maybe they can help the applicant, because we can't make the decision anyways.
right.
That's kind of my feeling on this.
I feel the same way that you guys do, and Justin, you kind of expressed way. I kind of I'd like this. It'd be great to help. On the other hand, you're rewriting the zoning law if you allow all these exceptions. So, and then the next person who comes in has the right to get the same relief. So, you've basically rewritten the policy, and I don't know that we're in a position to do that. So, I would be fine with neutral as well.
I think neutral's right. I think if it was like Paul coming in with his deep pockets and just trying to get a few extra bucks, then I'd say negative. But given the circumstances here, right, that kind of weighs in favor. And I don't want to give a negative. I think I'd be okay with neutral.
Yeah, and as somebody was saying earlier about, I am not going to be the first one coming and trying to do this because of the way the world is changing, and with the idea of people, as you said, the older people will need their families to be able to figure out a way to get things, so that they can have that happen. And it has started across the country where families are now making a mother-daughter situation so that the mother can come and live with them. I am hoping to have a situation where somebody will live up here who will take care of me, so that I don't have to worry about, something difficult to have to think about when you get to a certain age, of worrying about somebody to take care of me, and I don't have to end up in a nursing home and all the horrors, especially now that you've heard about the nursing homes and where people have not been able to take care of them with this COVID, and how, people have been dying in them. So you do get to a point where you really fear having to be in that situation, especially with what has happened with this.
Okay. Paul,
Yep.
you have your resolution?
I do. Did you want me to read through it, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay. So and I'll read it with I'll put neutral in when I read it. So be it resolved that the Town of Clinton Planning Board is making a neutral recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals with respect to the variances requested or required by Kathy J. Modashami from section 250-29 of the Town of Clinton zoning law to allow construction of an accessory dwelling in a principal structure located at 15 Red Cedar Lane with a tax parcel number, which is located in the AR5 zoning district in the Town of Clinton. Whereas one, the applicant seeks to construct an accessory apartment, including a bathroom and kitchen, in the basement of an approximately 1,504 square foot single family dwelling located on a 3.183 acre lot. The zoning administrator denied the application for a building permit on the grounds that the project requires issuance of a special use permit authorizing construction of an accessory dwelling, and that an area variance is required from the requirements of section 250-29C1 of the zoning law. Paragraph 2, section 250-29C governs accessory dwelling units located within or attached to principal structures. 250-29C1 states that, quote, the total acreage required for the single family dwelling with the accessory dwelling unit within the principal structure is the same as the acreage required for a single family dwelling unit in the district in which it is located, end quote. The subject parcel consists of 3.183 acres, where 5 acres is the minimum lot area required per dwelling unit in the AR5 zoning district for the district schedule of area and bulk regulations. Accordingly, the applicant requires a variance from the minimum lot area requirement set forth in 250-29C1 from 5 acres to 3.183 acres. Paragraph 3. In addition, section 250-29B2 states that, quote, the lot may not be an existing non-conforming lot of less than the prescribed lot area or lot width required in the district, end quote. The parcel appears to be an existing non-conforming lot. As noted, the subject parcel does not contain the minimum prescribed lot area for the AR5 district, nor does it comply with the minimum lot width requirements of 400 feet. Accordingly, a variance from the requirements of 250-29B2 will also be required. 4, the application does not specify the square footage of the proposed apartment, although from the drawing supplied, it appears that the accessory dwelling will occupy most of the basement area of the principal structure. The principal structure comprises about 1,504 square feet of total floor space per parcel access. Section 250-29B6 states that, quote, the accessory unit shall contain no greater than 35% of the total habitable space of the existing structure prior to the construction of such accessory apartment, or 1,000 square feet of floor space, whichever is more restrictive, end quote. To the extent that the proposed apartment will exceed these size limitations, and additional area variances will be required. Paragraph 5. Finally, section 250-29C2 states that, quote, no accessory dwelling unit within a principal structure shall be allowed in buildings issued a certificate of occupancy after the effective date of this chapter, except buildings covered by section 250-92E, end quote. Section 250-104 states that, quote, the words in this chapter shall mean in this local law number 3 of 1991 or amendments thereto, end quote. Parcel access indicates that the principal structure was built in 1994 after the effective date of the current zoning law. Accordingly, section 250-29C2 precludes the issuance of a special use permit in this case in the absence of a variance. A variance from the requirements of section 250-29C2 should be classified as a use variance. Paragraph 6, alternatively, the applicant might seek a special use permit for a 2-family dwelling pursuant to section 250-76, which would eliminate the size limitation on the proposed apartment, but would require a variance from section 250-76B, which provides that, quote, a 2-family dwelling shall require twice the acreage specified in the district schedule of area and bulk regulations for a single-family dwelling in the district in which it is located, end quote. In this case, a variance from the required 10 acres to 3.183 acres would be necessary. In addition, section 250-76D2 states that the lot containing the two-family dwelling, quote, may not be an existing non-conforming lot of less than the prescribed lot area, width, or frontage, end quote. And section 250-76D1 further provides that a two-family dwelling created by conversion rather than new construction must be created through conversion of a single-family dwelling legally existing on the effective date of this chapter, end quote. Paragraph 7, there are no known outstanding zoning violations on the property per the zoning enforcement officer. 8, the property is not in a CEA. 9, the property is not located in a ridgeline, scenic, or historic protection overlay. 10, an area variance is a type 2 action under seeker and requires no further review. An application for a use variance requires seeker review, which will be conducted by the ZBA. 11, paragraph 11, the factors to be considered in evaluating whether to grant an area variance or whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting it, whether the benefits sought by the application can be obtained by other means, whether the requested variance is substantial, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, and whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. 12, given the applicant is not proposing new exterior construction or an addition to the principal structure, the proposed variances will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, with the exception of a slight increase in population density and traffic. However, the planning board notes that allowing the application to proceed will create a precedent that is clearly contrary to the express terms and policy of the zoning law, which appears designed to limit the number and size of accessory dwellings in the town. 13, the benefits sought by the applicant, the creation of an accessory apartment, could not be achieved by another method. 14, the requested variances are substantial. 15, the proposed variances will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, with the exception of slightly increased population density and traffic. 16, the alleged difficulty is self-created. 17, to obtain a use variance, the applicant must show that the applicable zoning rules and restrictions create an, quote, unnecessary hardship. The applicant must demonstrate by competent financial evidence that it cannot realize a reasonable return from any of the permitted uses in the district, that the alleged hardship is unique, that the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and that the alleged hardship has not been self-created. 18, the applicant has not submitted sufficient information demonstrating that she can meet each of the criteria for a use variance as cited in paragraph 17 above. For example, the applicant has not demonstrated or alleged that the zoning law creates an unnecessary hardship on her. Now, let me just say, we hadn't had the meeting when I wrote this, so I think we've had some, we've had some discussion of that. So I could soften that if we'd like to. Has not demonstrated or alleged that the zoning law creates an unnecessary hardship in her case, but that the hardship is unique to her, or that the alleged hardship has not been self-created. 19, the application fee has been paid. And therefore be it resolved, the Town of Clinton Planning Board is making a neutral recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals with respect to the applicant's request for following area and use variances. A, section 250-29C1, which is minimum acreage, 5 acres to 3.18 acres. Second variance would be section 250-29B2, lot area and lot width, 5 acres to 3.18 acres and 400 feet to approximately 280 feet. Third variance, 250-29B, apartment maximum square footage to be determined once the applicant gets the numbers. And the fourth one would be the use variance from 250-29C2, use variance allowing accessory dwelling within principal structure that does not predate effective date of current zoning law.
Do we have a second?
Justin, I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, Paul, can you just, I think you should add a sentence or just tweak 18 about the hardship.
Yeah, okay. That's, yeah.
Arlene.
Okay,
Isn't it, you have, on the fourth one that you said about the use variance, so are you making a recommendation for them to whether to determine whether this is a use variance or that's a little, isn't it, you have to make a determination whether this is an area variance or a use variance?
Well, I think if we pass the resolution, we're saying we think a reuse variance is required. And I thought everybody was saying we're going to be neutral.
yes.
Yeah, but then you include the use variance under the fourth. So
Okay.
number four, didn't you include number four as a use?
Arlene, I think what Paul is doing is he's giving them options and different ways to go on this. We're not making a recommendation for use variance. We're giving them the options. That's it.
I just want to know because I have to do the legal ad. I want to know the exact verbiage of the recommendation of the planning board because
Well, there is no, it's a neutral recommendation on the application.
I have to spell out there all those variances.
Well, I mean, I think the zoning administrator didn't flag all the issues. So if you want to go back to him and say, this is what the planning board thinks, you know, he can amend his referral, you know, but I think this is what we're saying. I hear what you're saying. I don't know how you're going to word the ad. I hear what you're saying. I just,
All right, that's okay. I'll just put whatever you have. That's fine.
Okay? Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the resolution?
Justin, I.
Art, aye.
Very aye.
Paul,
Okay, so moved. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And good luck with the zoning board.
Next Thursday, Kat, I'll call you. The 24th. September 24th. Kathy.
Oh, okay. I got you. My thing's going a little wacky right now, Arlene. So you said September 24th?
Yes. All right.
All right. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, guys. I appreciate all your help.
thank you. Good
Good
luck.
luck.
Good luck.
Well, I could use all the luck I can get.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the good luck, and we can only hope for the best for me. Thank you, Arlene, for all your work.
Okay.
Guys, thank you for listening to me, and I hope it goes in my favor. That's all I can do.
That's it. Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you. Good night now.
Good night.
Okay, does anybody else have anything?
I have something. The DLC, Duchess Land Conservancy wants to do a presentation. Wants the chairman to give a recommendation or something, but so I'm not putting it till you come back on the second meeting on October.
That's fine. That's fine. It sounds like a good thing.
Oh, you heard about it? You know
Yeah.
about it? Because
So,
they're gonna go to before the town board first. And then they'll go
okay, good. So we'll do it not on the 6th, but on the
the next one.
next date. Okay. Terrific. Okay, anybody else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Second, okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Art, aye. Okay.